Hey, welcome back everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jester. My name is Junior. So finally, today's the last day that we are going to go ahead and review Omega Prime, the final form of this Haslab Transformers that we just received. But before we do, I did forget to show off a comparison video between the regular version of Optimus Prime. So here it is. So, so as you can see in the original version of the chest, which is, what do you call this? I keep forgetting. I'll just call it chrome. Um, but the new version doesn't have that. However, the newer version in the top chest here, in the kind of like windowed part, you see this transparent and kind of like a behind the scenes sculpted electronics part, while this one is just a regular blue. Now, although the chrome is shiny and nice, I do like the somewhat intricate look of the chest in this one. And I have to give credit on the old one because I had completely forgotten about this. Because you can pull out the shoulders in a way. You do have butterfly joint, which is much more articulated than the new one. This one, because of the engineering that they did, does have the butterfly joint as well, but it breaks up the sculpt a lot. It's like you literally cut off um, Prime's chest into three parts. I do think though that in at least in super mode of Prime, this is more usable than this one because even though it pulls out because of the way the shoulder pad sits, I don't think I was even able to use it because I was afraid. I was afraid to move it, basically. Also, one of the biggest differences between the two is even though regular Prime is taller, the amount of material and sculpting that they added wider makes him, I don't know why, it makes him look much more wider. I think it's also again because of the chest and the thighs. I mean, the chest and the waist, which they expanded quite a bit. In fact, it almost seems like they expanded it by 30% when the height was only increased by, I don't know, 5%. So definitely looks a lot more wider than taller. I do like the fact that they improved how they did the hands because now this part of the hands you can push up and still retain the hand out, while this one you can't. So now his hand isn't encased. Is mostly why it's so important. And then the back improvement is definitely much better because this one does have the electronics inside it. That's why it's so longer. And this one is mostly there for look. And also the fact that it's now used for storage for Prime's head if you need to cover it up. Here's the back. And I'll say this, as you notice, more of my thing is missing here because I just got so irritated, just keeps falling off and everything. And I don't understand why they couldn't just like do whatever they did here, because in any kind of transformation, this never gets in the way because you can always push it back. This one keeps falling off. I don't know what to do with this one. I'm so tempted to just drill a screw in here and just screw it in. I don't know why. And even in the preliminary video shot that they did on the first sample that Hasbro did, the guy kept seeing this one fall off, and I don't know why. I would suggest that he probably forgot all about it and forgot to make changes because it followed us through here. Finally, we'll just do a comparison of the head. The eyes carry that nice chromy look that the original has. This one is very true to the sculpt of the original because the original kind of looks good anyway. Unlike with Ultra Magnus, we saw that change with a stronger jaw chin strap look that the original didn't have. So I think that's pretty much it for the regular version of Optimus Prime. And let me go ahead and do the transformation, which I won't show you. I'll show you in another video. And right now, we'll go ahead and switch over to the review for Omega Prime. So finally, we have arrived to the final review of the Haslab Transformers Omega Prime, the star himself, Omega Prime. And as I drone on, I want to just leave this here, and you can see for yourself the similarities and the differences between the two up close. So part of my what I wanted to talk about is seeing it here, seeing it being displayed, being talked about by the Haslab crew. It's so much more different once you have it in hand and once you've transformed it. And my transformation videos is going to be long because I am transforming both at the same time, just to show you, because then you see a lot more of the differences that they've introduced into the new um, Omega Prime. So you might not watch it because it's a long process, it's a long video, but I kid you not, once you have this in hand and once you're transforming it, you begin to appreciate exactly what they did, and how they were able to keep to the original look. One of the things, and I don't know if they ever talked about it or even showed it on the reveal, and I'm so afraid to touch this, because when I was transforming it, I just like, oh my god, so afraid. Notice the difference in width, like specifically this one. Notice that you still see the full cab hanging in front of his chest. It's not here at all on the new Haslab Omega Prime. There's a process in the transformation of the chest piece where you begin to compact this entire set and plug it in to this one, so that you're literally missing this half of the cab, which is good because, as you can see now, he's not like it's not like he's being drawn by well, anyway, which is a good, right? And the way in the transformation, the way this tabs in, it tabs in from the front and the top and the front, but everything is so loose and wiggly. I know it's an older toy, but I had to do it off camera because it was just such a hassle. However, this one is so complicated, and I still don't know if I did this correctly, if that should be sitting down. I like I said, I'm not really good with transformation, and this thing is so complicated that I had to go back and forth on the instructional paper and the video. Thank God I was notified about that, because there are certain steps that's missing. The one where you accordion this back was not on the paperwork, and anything like that. And this one is still loose. I don't want to handle it too much, honestly, because I think like this whole backpack is gonna fall over. So this whole Haslab, the strength, and I don't know if I did that, the strength lies in the super mode of Optimus Prime and in Omega Prime. That's the strongest part of this group. Notice also the hanging part here with Omega Primes. The old Omega Prime, it's all cleaned up on the new one. And again, because they removed the electronics, you get to see his butt Oh, butthole. No, but while this one still covers it up. Right? Oh yeah, that's definitely so much better. So we'll go freehand mode, and we'll look at the details again, and then we'll go to the articulation, and that's basically it, right? So here we go. All right, so there is a close-up of the new Omega Prime. His eyes are chromy blue, as you can see. I'm gonna move over to the old one. So they copied it very well, exactly as we see it, and they should, because this is actually a really good portrait of Omega Prime. Going back to the new one, you can see a beautiful shot of that Autobot emblem right in front of his chest. And I also want to note, as you can see here, we're going to swing back to the old one. The top of his hip leg area that we know it's there, still has been translated to the new one, but now it's much more cohesive because it's just basically part of his abdomen, right? But it still has the blue, white, blue coloring. I don't think this tabs in any place, so I'm just leaving it there for now. We'll talk about that later on. I'm not gonna point out all the differences in the paint application. You guys can already see it for yourself. So they copied everything exactly. I think the only difference is like this one we already know is blue, and then the new one it's gray. So I think what they did when they were designing the paint deco on all the three pieces, um, Optimus Prime, Ultra Magnus, Optimus Prime, Hero Mode or Super Mode, and Omega Prime, was considering that the final best paint outcome has to be an Omega Prime as their primary goal, and then secondary would be either Optimus Prime in Super Mode or Ultra Magnus. So that's why we're seeing so much more paint deco in this form rather than in the vehicle form. I also want to point out here on the wheels, it's very minimal, where you can see the hollowness in the wheels on this one. The inside has obviously the silver part of the wheel, and in this one, the original, it's actually all covered in, and you see so it's a whole wheel in there. So that's one advantage of the original Omega Prime, but honestly, that's all there is. I'm just so afraid of turning this because I feel like if this thing falls over, this whole chassis piece is gonna fall over. But on the side, here he is on the side, and there he is on the side. It looks like a 1990s comic book from a certain artist where the chest is expanded out. Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. Let me put us back on the tripod. And I really don't want to touch him, because I really am afraid he might fall over and break apart. Oh, but this one's also leaning too. So that's it for now. For the close-ups, I think I pretty much covered everything that I needed. And we'll go ahead and do the articulation. All right, so for the articulation, the biggest advantage of this Haslab is the fact that there's a lot of pieces that it's securing the connection. This is very, very solid. I'm going to touch this old one for the last time, and I'm going to do the same shake test, and I'm so afraid what's going to happen. Oh, look, he's holding together. So I'm surprised it did that. But this, I'm not afraid to hold it here. even maybe here. Look, I'm not afraid because the connection to this one is here, in the back, um, and another one here connecting it to this one. So this is a very, very solid connection. For Omega Prime's head goes down a lot. I'm not sure. He doesn't have an up, but I'm not sure if I transformed this correctly because I feel like this hitting not even. I'm not sure. Has a little bit of wiggle waggle, a lot of side to side. That's not a problem. The articulation on the shoulder, this lifts up a little bit because of transformation, but you can use this one right here. Now we already know this is all ratcheted and everything. Of course, you won't have a lot of rotation because of how this thing is designed, the chest. It has at least a 90-degree turn, a 90-degree bend, and it still has the rotation of the elbow. It's very, very similar to the Prime Super Mode. So when it comes to the chest swivel, it does have, or the waist swivel, it does have a waist swivel, but it's kind of more restricted because of this. So I can lift this if I want to, but it will still be restricted. You can loosen these two up if you want to, because it's really just connected, I think, through here. So you can loosen this up. And again, that trick where I pull it out and have the bend with the Optimus Prime Super Mode, I can still do that with this one. For the hip leg articulation, oh my god, this thing is so stiff. That is so stiff. There's really no fear of that falling down. Again, the connection between this is so much more solid than the original because it's connected here, 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 and here. This is much more solid. I'm not afraid of this thing falling over, unlike with Optimus Prime Super Mode. The ankle articulation, this is a, you can move it like that, so that should help a little bit. I don't know if it's meant to be like that. It has this, I guess, for a toe down, not up, and it does have a slight, very slight ankle rocker. I think I talk. Here's the knee, by the way, if I forgot to talk about that. It does have a knee twist as well. So, oh boy, this is definitely much more stronger ratchet up in the hip area. I think I talked about that, where it's more stiffer here and more softer here. You can definitely move it off to the side here and then use the ankle pivot. So that's a lot more secure, a lot more stable. He also has obviously the longer footprint that Ultra Magnus has, but as you can see, it's a lot less ugly because you have, not only do you have this, which we have with Ultra Magnus, but the back is completely filled. It's not hollow. So even though this is the same width as Ultra Magnus's feet, because it's basically using the same feet, it's not as awful looking as Ultra Magnus. I think that's pretty much it, right? As you can see, I installed Blue Bolt over here and have him secured. Oh my gosh, I need to talk about the Matrix Blade is what he called it. I do need to show that, don't I? All right, so here's the Matrix Blade. I think I showed you how I showed the video of how I transformed it. How do I want to hold this guy? I want to hold him as a sentinel thing. Open up his hands, which I didn't talk about. The additional articulation at the finger point on the hands. Then see these 3 slots over here. You can use any of these slots here to basically peg it in. Ooh, Ooh, so heavy. Okay, that's pretty much stuck in there. Honestly, that's not gonna move. But can he hold it up by his hand, by his own? Um, I don't think so. I don't think it ever will. Let's see. Oink. Yeah, it's this thing is so big, so heavy, it just can't. And there really isn't. I forgot to mention that there's no ratchet on the shoulder forward on this one. There's none on the elbow as well. The ratchet is only on the lower leg area. So you're basically using the whole staff to stand on. So if you were to convert it with just because this thing collapses or separates in separate parts, it just won't do. Now, if you want to show this and not have it like that, but have it horizontal, because like I said, it connects through these three things. So you need to separate it here, and it's supposed to be hexagonal to key it in. And I don't know if it's possible to do this because if I wanted to display it like this, you need these three slots to like that. So basically, if you could have done this, it would have been good. But as you can see, because it's a hexagonal, it will force you to follow the groove. And for one thing, you need to attach it to this one because otherwise it will lift, and there's no way he can hold it like that. The first problem the first problem you have to deal with is you need to open this up again. So I did it by kind of pushing this forward and using that. So the second problem, once you've opened this, you can't, in order for me to try to display it like this, that means I need these three slots to face this way, and you can't because this is keyed in to be shown this way. So that's, I feel, is a mistake. One solution would have been to have a cut here with a swivel. But if you had done that, I feel it might not have been solid enough. And that this would end up swinging too freely because this is so heavy. So how do you display this sword like this? Right? How do you display it as a sword and not like this? Because you're not, when you swing a sword, you don't swing it like this, right? You swing it like this. How do you do that? That's a good question. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer. That just came up to me right off the fly, and I don't have an answer to that. Because whatever combination of things that I do, it's exactly the same. So you cannot. Oh, let's see. Nope. Because as you rotate each facet of the hexagon, then this twists around. So if you do it like this, you have that look. Again, we have to work off of the second stem because this will not, the orientation of this one will not change. So you were all working off the second stem, which means this is lifted off. That's, yeah, that's the problem right there that I kind of wish they looked at a little bit. If somebody out there has a better solution, then I would definitely welcome it. So finally, let's look at the base. I didn't really spend too much time on it, and it's very easy to assemble. So use these two to connect the base. For some reason, I don't intend on displaying this with Ultra Magnus and Prime, but some of you may have bought this twice. So you can connect it like that if you want to. In the video, we'll just go ahead and connect him to the base. I believe this goes into this slot over here. So I'm just going to stand him up. But you see that pogo pest post over here? You plug it into the butthole. Yep. Well, it's not my fault. They literally put in a butthole in there to plug into. But so from what I'm seeing, you kind of need to spread his legs out because to lower that hole a little bit. Because if you have him standing just straight out, it obviously will heighten it by just enough so that it doesn't plug in properly. So there he is on his A stance. I don't know. Maybe I will display him on the base because that's a very, very stable look. All right, so final thoughts. I don't know about you guys, but this is how I'm going to display my set. Fortunately, I do have the pleasure of owning the original. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rock him in the original Optimus Prime Super Mode alongside Omega Prime because these two are I think the strongest version of of the Omega Prime version. And I'm sorry, but Ultra Magnus is just gonna go off the wayside. My original one in truck mode and probably back to storage. And this really holds up if you're not gonna play with him as much as you can, because like I said, they copied it as much as they could. For Cerebros over here, I I don't know what to do. Why he has a head on the back because I don't know where he incorporates in this whole setup. But I'll put him here in the seat of the base part, which I'll also display like that because I don't want to have to put that in storage. So everything's basically going to be um, displayed, and I'll try not to put anything in storage. Value wise, this is, I believe it was 250, but with taxes it probably went up to 275 or something like that. Is it worth it? Comparably, if you were to buy the original set or the original re-release of this one, if that's the price that you're getting right now, which is listed in Big Bad Toy Store at $200 for the original Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus, and this is 250, it's really not a question, right? I mean, unfortunately, you can't get this anymore unless you go aftermarket because this is a Haslab. So to get retail price on this one, long past it unless you get a great deal. This one you can still get at retail for $200 for both of them. If you passed on this, sorry that you did, but this is a great upgrade to this piece. This is the toy that we've kind of wanted in the beginning. It's much more stable. It's definitely much more better looking. In the front, it almost seems like this one was comparable to this one, the Omega Prime version. But honestly, because of how they compacted the chest, it adds a lot to the visual of this one. If you were to display him on the side or just to look at him on the side. The only drawback again is this sword over here. Yes, it is quite a stunner to look at it on I guess profile like this, but the fact that I know they must have thought about displaying it sideways the way you would hold a sword because in the video they even commented on how this is segmented so that you can start twisting the handle so that you can orient it properly to your desire. It does not work as far as I know. If you guys can find out how to do it, and I will be looking at my usual places, MGO316, TM Reviews, Deluxe Baldwin when he gets his Prime versus Prime when they get theirs, to see how they can orient this way because I can't think of it. But that's it. Thank you for so much for watching. this video. I try to do it justice. I know I'm like the first one out there, and I really don't like being the first one out there. I try to cover as much as possible that might be questions in your mind. And I know this last one is longer than it should be, but I feel that it needed it. Stay tuned. After this, it's gonna take me a while to edit the transformation videos because I want to cut it as short as possible, but at the same time not lose the integrity of the transformation process. And we'll see what happens. But thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys again on my next video review. This came in at such a unexpected time that I have plans of videos like 7 days out. That this is basically like dumping in, just to get the information out as quickly as possible. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.